locks in. Yeah, now it comes. You can see now.
Jelly.
You know, one color.
Huh?
Yeah. Okay, the same link you click, no, to get into this. So I won't hang up because then it will stop the. Supposing I say screen share.
If you also.
No, you ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ನೋಡಿ ನಂದು ಅಂತ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ನಂದು ಹಾಕಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಈಗ ನಾನು ಹಾಕಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡೋದೆಲ್ಲ ನಂದು ಬರಬೇಕು. ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡೋ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಬಂತು.
ಬಂತಾ? Correct ಅಲ್ಲ?
Why don't we use that only then?
No, it's interacting. No problem. Stop sharing. You share now.
I'm sharing. I've already shared. It should be coming, no? Is it coming?
Terminated due to progress or not. You are there?
Waiting for people to join.
You want me to join? I'm not able to connect in my. Chat, anyone chat. Group chat. Group chat. Did you get my chat?
Yeah.
Only perfectly normal. Some problem with this.
Is it 7 or 7:30? Are you sure?
7.
Can you do one thing? I won't take my laptop. ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲೇ drives ಅಲ್ಲೇ share ಮಾಡೋಣ.
You share ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
Let it be like that. I'll come there only. Who only me and you?
Other than me. I'm not able to see the
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಬರಬೇಕಲ್ಲ.
Let's pull on. Last time also it happened like that. I disconnected everybody got it. Then I connected.
So you open that and keep that as
Yeah, we will do that. No problem.
Lemon. No, go to the radio. Download ಮಾಡ್ತಾ.
Download no problem.
So how do I it from your computer?
I will ensure it. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಆವಾಸಿಗೆ So 3 of us are on very fine. Where did you got it?
Yeah, webinar.
What is the name of the webinar?
No, knowledge share. Knowledge share. Where's knowledge share? Architecture collaborative business. First one.
So now
What do you want? I don't know.
stop sharing.
Oh, my Microsoft. Yeah.
Yeah. So let us keep it that way. Go.
Wait. Download.
No, we got that they really know. You don't drop.
No, I've kept it loud.
You don't go. No. Sound check ಮಾಡಿ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ. Okay. Very that off now. ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಲ್ಲ. Hello. It's echoing. It's echoing. No, it was why is this not coming? I'm not able to see screen. I'm not able to see the screen now. I can see. Only both of us are there with this. We logged in. We logged in with our links only, no? Others should also be doing it.
Start. Yeah.
You're able to see that?
I can see. I'll just do this last one. No, not hang out. That one.
And ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಿ.
Very. No. Press on the
ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. Oh, that's because ನಾವು ಮಾತಾಡಿದಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬರುತ್ತದು. Now it should be coming.
No, it's not coming.
No, just hold on. Now I removed the mute, na?
Okay, but still not.
It should be coming now as.
Not as full screen. It is coming as the first one.
Huh?
Not as full screen.
ನಂದು ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಹಾಯ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬಂತ? ಹಾಯ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬಂತ? ಐ ಆಮ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಸಿ ಯುವರ್ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್.
No, but as full screen or?
ಹಂಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅರ್ಧ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. It was before the. That's okay, no problem. As long as I don't know why. 7:30 na 7 na?
I don't know.
7 p.m. IST ಅಂತಾನೆ ಇದೆ.
No, it's coming like this.
It's coming?
No, it's coming.
Slowly.
No, it's coming. Good speed only.
Then?
But
ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಫುಲ್ ಬರಲ್ಲ.
do screen show.
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನು ಹೇಳ್ದ, ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್ ಐ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಪುಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಶೇರ್ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ. ನೋ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಫುಲ್ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಶೇರ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕು. See now I go. I have to say this screen.
Yeah, this screen, Microsoft PowerPoint. This one.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಈ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಟೋಟಲ್ ಡೆಸ್ಕ್ಟಾಪ್ಗೆ. Anything I want to show on that. Okay, now it goes into that loop, and now when I say this, it comes.
Okay.
Now we put wait. I'll put it. Now it comes full. Correct, Alva?
Correct. This is correct. Let's leave it like this now.
Okay. So we are there on that, and let me check if we are doing a. Can you? No. I want to see whether it is recording. So for some time let it be. Need to toggle, na? I need to go whether it is recording in YouTube or not.
Automatically it is recorded.
No, that only I am checking whether it is recording or not. I want to watch. Live now, no? See here. So you can actually start up the recording right now. So you go ahead and do it up. So we can show it to them now as and when it happens. Right. I think they're all live.
Should I go?
Now you can go full screen. So let's go ahead. Hi Madhaka, welcome to the Agile Global webinar on the theme of understanding enterprise architecture value to business. I'm very sure that most of the participants will find benefit by attending to this particular webinar, which speaks about what values do we actually perceive in terms of architecture bringing into the business strategy and into the theme of the organization. This seminar will be for about 45 minutes with question and answers. I request Madhukar to start the presentation, please.
Thanks, Vinu, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone, whichever part of the world you are in. My name is Madhukar Rajgopal. I work at Oracle and have about 30 odd years of IT and industry experience. And today's session is what I'm going to cover, as Vinu said, is on understanding the enterprise architecture value to business and trying to understand how these two things can come together and deliver value to what the business wants from IT. Just as logistics, having a session for about 45 minutes and Q&A and discussions towards the end for about 15 minutes, covering an hour in total. So let's get started on the session itself. So the business strategy, whether it's any industry, you could be in the banking, you could be in the hospitality, you could be in healthcare, you could be in manufacturing, you could be in telecom, you could be in insurance, you could be in the airlines. It's driven by many factors, and some of these are industry pressures, some of these are regulations, Sarbanes-Oxley, things like that. You have many regulations within different industries. You have competitive pressures within the industry. You have which means you got shareholders, you got employees, you got customers, you got partners, you got the people around you. You got to look at their value. You also look at things like governance in terms of figuring out what is the way you're going to operate, and what is the governance rules and mechanisms and things like that, under which you operate. And last but not least is the environmental issues, getting more and more into focus in today's day and age. What with all these global warming and all these kind of things that we keep hearing, and impact of that and things like that. So, as a summary, businesses do business the way, and they are driven by many factors, some of which are here. Now, given all these things, obviously one of the major things now in today's day and age is that IT helps them in a very industry without assignment, with industry that I spoke of, whether it's the airlines, whether it's the banking, whether it's the telecom. So you want to in terms of saying that whichever industry we are operating in, or we want to operate in, or we are called to operate in, we need to understand the dynamics of that particular industry to some extent, so that we understand what drives that particular company, what drives that industry, and why a solution or an architecture that we are trying to propose makes sense for them. So this is very, very critical that we need to do this. But in reality, what happens is that with all these things given, the business says they want a couple of things from IT. The first thing they want is seamless process flow. Whether it is the process flow related to your ordering process, like an order to cash, or whether it's a procurement process, whether it's procure to pay, or whether it is for the HR processes or the customer experience processes, the supply chain processes. Any of these things, are all processes which companies want to automate, and they want that automated in a very seamless way. So to that extent, what happens is that's the first thing that companies are looking for.
That's what I was wondering.
What is it?
That's why the full screen problem is that one. Full screen problem. Yeah. You should go ahead.
You want to put it in full screen? No.
No.
Okay. So to that extent, what the business wants from IT is more of seamless process flows across the business areas, whether it's the hire to retire process, or the order to cash process, or closure of books process or supply chain processes, whichever be the process that the company is running in a typical industry that they're in, they want a seamless process flow and automation of that. Obviously, the second thing they are looking for is less complication, saying that whatever we are doing as IT, let's not try to complicate it. Let's not try to make it in such a way that the business does not understand what's happening. So that's another thing that the industry wants from IT. The third thing that the business wants is, in today's day and age, everybody's got a smartphone. Everyone's possibly got a tab, and a device, a notepad, anything, and they're all wirelessly connected. So businesses want access to it. They want mechanisms where they could get alerts. They want mechanisms where they could access their business data from anywhere. Obviously, built into all this would be your security rules, your access control mechanisms, and all those things, which those things should not be compromised. But the pressure from the business is that they want access anywhere through any means. The fourth thing they want is decision support mechanisms. Now, this is very interesting because what happens is, systems, they generate a lot of data, and they want to take decisions based on that data. Typically, what happens in most companies is that over a period of time, they have put these systems in place, and they have been upgraded, they have been downgraded, they have been integrated, they have been so many things. And in spite of so much of data, in spite of so many systems, within the senior level management, they will always have a go-to guy. Now, this guy is a guy whom you go to, and when you need your reports, you need to go to him. How he gets the reports, what he does, senior management did not worry about. But within half an hour, 1 hour, depending on the complexity of the report, he somehow gets it. He talks to 10 people, he gets 15 spreadsheets, he managed to somehow get the data. Now, in this chain of command, if one person is missing, then there's a huge gap in that data. So reports are not accurate. Decisions are not made based on true data. Now, the person somehow manages to get the data and then make a report. But this link person comes back the next day and says, no, you should not have considered this data, you should have considered that data, you should not have taken this, and things like that. So again, the report is changed, but by which time the decision is taken and whatever has to be done is being done. So businesses are looking to IT for decision support systems. That's very, very critical. They are also looking for proactive and agile IT environment. Whether it's the change in technology that's driving the IT, whether it's the mergers and acquisitions that's driving the IT, whether it's the expansion of a business going into new territories that's driving IT, whatever be that, IT environment has to be agile and proactive in supporting companies and their businesses. So, for example, there are many companies who are in the projects and EPC kind of industry. So whenever they do projects in remote locations, they need to know what is the actual work that's been done, what is the the measurements that have been taken, what are the shortfall of material. Anything that needs to be reported back should come immediately, not 3 days, 4 days later. So how does IT help them to get the data back into the central servers or central decision-making bodies, which can then look at how the material has to be dispatched or where the shortfalls are, or update a project plan, for example, and figure out what needs to be done. And the final thing that they are looking for is obviously the value-driven solutions. It's very easy to say that I need $1 million for this IT project. Sure, but what's the value out of it? No, I need to upgrade my database. The database is obsolete, so I need to upgrade. But that's not business value. That's a technology value. So tell me a business value. There is no business value sometimes. So in most cases, if it's something that's been driven by the business, it's very easy to go back to the business and say, you need a CRM solution. So obviously you must be having a reason why you need a CRM solution. So let's jointly figure out what the business value is. Right? Then we can start looking at how companies look at the business value, whether it's the ROI, total cost of ownership, or earned value measurements, or whatever be the way that companies want to look at this total cost of ownership over 5 years, the return on investment, and how quickly it is. Whatever be that metric that companies use for deriving the value of a business, a business venture, they should apply the same thing for all IT projects, because all said and done, if I had the same amount of money, I could have opened maybe 2 more branches somewhere. I could have employed 5 more people. As against that, I'm putting all the money into an IT solution. So there must be some reason why we are doing that. So that is also the reason why companies look at that and say, we need to look at the value of an IT solution. So this is what businesses want from IT, and this is what they expect that IT should deliver to them. Right. So just to reiterate, process flows, less complications, access anywhere, decision support mechanisms, proactive and agile environments, and value-driven solutions. So these are some of the things that businesses want from IT. Now let's do one thing else. Let's switch the sides and then figure out what we deliver to the business. Right? We throw jargons and TLAs. You know what's a TLA? A TLA is a 3-letter acronym. So by itself, it is an acronym, right? So whether it's we call it LAMP, whether we call it Y2K, whether we call it a CRM, we call it an ERP, we call it risk, we call it a .com, we call it SMAC, SEM. So big data, BPM. These are jargons we throw at business. These are jargons which keep IT companies busy, and wave after wave, IT companies come up with new things and say that this is the latest right now. So we have to be in these kind of things, and the latest being SMAC, which is social, mobile, analytics, and cloud. So that's the latest thing that companies are looking for today, and everybody is being nice little this one towards that, path towards that, to say that okay, are we in social? How are we trending on all these Facebook and things like that? Are we mentioned on Twitter? Is it a positive? Is it a negative? These kind of things. Mobility, we already spoke about mobility and access anywhere. So everybody wants that they have the latest and the greatest gadgets, and BYOD is another thing that's, I didn't put that here, but that's bring your own device. That's another thing that's driving companies. So people bring their own devices and say, I need to plug my iMac and iPhone and iPad and whatever it is into the corporate network, allow me to do that. So IT people are figuring out and saying what's the best way to allow people to come in and yet bring their own devices and have access to corporate systems and networks. So that becomes another thing. Analytics is a very, very big thing in today's day and age. I'll cover that in the last couple of slides. That's very, very critical. And of course, cloud. So rather than having the entire IT environment built and completely as an insurance policy, I buy 2 terabyte of data, I buy 5 whatever, 6 CPUs or 60 CPUs or whatever, and keep it. But in reality, I only use 1 TB of data and I only use 20 CPUs, and this fiber channel is not used and things like that. As against getting all the complexities into the organization, obviously companies are looking at going to cloud and then figuring out what's the best way I can use that, and on-demand compute, on-demand storage, on-demand applications, and grow as you need. So if I have 50 users for my supply chain or CRM solution, and I recruit 5 more people, or I open a new branch and 10 more people join in, I just need to provision them into the cloud application. So how do I do those kind of things is what companies are looking for. So effectively what happens is, as IT people, we are very good at throwing these kind of jargons and acronyms at the business and say, oh, you're talking about big data, oh, you're talking about SOA. We do more of that rather than trying to understand what the business really wants. So that's one of the things that we do very well in terms of throwing jargons at the business. What we actually deliver to the business is a couple of things. One is we deliver a bunch of code. If it is something that we have written inside our premises, the IT has driven that and has made a big project and said, oh, this is going to be a 1.5-year project. We are going to write this code for you, and we are going to deliver a dealer management system for you. So we deliver a bunch of code for them. Sometimes what happens is we are driven by companies who say, oh, we have got the best of breed solution for this. You want the latest in supply chain, you want the latest in CRM, you want the latest in this particular area, buy the solution from us. So it becomes best of breed, and you land up with an island of automation, you land up with integration issues. But having said that, that particular job is well done. And the rest of the things can be done by the IT department. The rest of the plumbing, rest of the things can be done by the IT department. That's their prerogative. That's the thing we also look at. Some other companies may come and tell us that, oh, we've got an integrated systems. Don't worry about this being different, that being different. Our systems are completely integrated, and we have systems which are seamlessly integrated, so you don't have to worry. Data put in one place comes out of the other, and whoever wants to use it, so create once, use many kind of things are what some companies will come and tell. So we buy solutions from companies who give us integrated solutions, and we try to incorporate it into our architecture. We try to incorporate it into our IT landscapes and try to deliver the value to the business. In doing all this, what we actually do is that we create artificial boundaries for businesses. So if the guy says, I want to invoice, he says, oh yeah, okay, you can invoice in the dealer system. Say, for example, you're talking about an automotive company. Once he wants to invoice, the invoice is created there. But based on that, and we want to see the demand pattern, oh, that's a different system. So there's a demand management software that we use for looking at the demands. And based on this, in this region, this color is more fast moving. Or if the monsoons are good in a particular region, if it is wedding season, number of cars will get sold more. So that's a demand management. But what is that linked to the actual sales? Well, these are two different systems. So we created a boundary, and we expect that data has to flow from solution A to solution B, or system A to system B. Then you come down to the supply chain area. So how do I plan for this demand? Oh, well, that's a separate supply chain solution. That's an ERP solution. That's a MRP solution. So we create these solutions, and we create these islands, and effectively create these artificial boundaries where the business wants a seamless thing. We try to create these boundaries because of the selections we made. Either we write a bunch of code, or we pick up a best of breed, or we look at integrated systems and say, this is what IT is all for you. So we cobble up all these things together and tell them that this is what we should be doing. Eventually what we do is that we throw volumes of data back at the business, because IT does not own the business, IT does not own the data that is created by the business either. So IT is only a temporary custodian of that data, and it comes through the systems. And anything that is done by the business on the data is the headache of the business. Yes, they have to come to IT to generate a report, to request for a report, to say that I want this report yesterday, this decision is very critical. These kind of things are fine. They may want reports for statutory purposes, for the tax purposes, for the government purposes, for environmental purposes, whatever it is. But we have volumes of data, and that's what we deliver to the business. How they make sense of it, what to do with it, well, the easiest way is to dump the data to them. They put it into spreadsheets. They do their slicing and dicing, all the stuff out there, and they get what they want. But eventually, from the raw data that was there in the systems that we maintain and manage for them. So that's what we deliver to business, right? What we need to do is actually look at it from a different perspective, and this is the architectural approach we should start looking at in terms of saying, how do we architect solutions? If I say that I'm doing it for a user right at the top, and he looks at analytics to start with, let's say, right? The analytics is based on the business processes that are there within the organization. These business processes run within applications. These applications require some amount of data, and the entire thing runs on stable infrastructure. So if I can say that there is a user who wants some analytics, who needs access to a particular business process, these processes can be structured, they can be unstructured. Structured thing can be like, I want to make an invoice for a customer. I want to raise a payment order for a supplier. These are structured things. So somebody wants to open, let's say, a bank account, and I want to open a fixed deposit. So these are structured things because there is some transaction there's going on there. There's some amount of financial implication to that. An unstructured thing could be that, you know, I want to travel to this customer location. I'm making a travel request. So travel request is an unstructured process in the sense that it has not yet got any financial implication. It has not got anything. It just goes to my manager for approval, and maybe depending on the class of travel, the need for travel, approvals, things like that, it could still be that it's a process which has to be automated, yes, as we spoke right in the early stage, but it need not be something that's structured. It can be unstructured. So I just drill down and say, you know, I drop down and say that, okay, these are the locations. So I click on this location. I say I need to travel. So till it completes that entire thing, till I make the travel, till my travel agent is paid, until I put in my expense statements, it is still an unstructured process. Similarly, when you come to applications, there are applications which, you know, companies build in-house for whatever reason, saying that, you know, we are in a very niche area, no one else has applications for these areas, or it gives us a competitive advantage for us to build these and do it ourselves. So that could be a reason why companies build applications. Companies also have a mix of applications that they have bought. Like we talked earlier about the best of breed or integrated solutions. It could be a accounting package, it could be a supply chain package, it could be a human resources package, it could be a customer experience package, it could be a BI package, anything that is off the shelf, and you put a CD and everything, you know, hopefully goes hunky-dory and you can start using it from day one. So there are these kind of applications also in the applications portfolio. Then this comes to things like the master data. So there is obviously transaction data, like we talked about the financials, the supplier masters, the vendor masters, the item masters, the client masters, customer masters, bank masters. So there are many such things which are again master data, right? Similarly, in terms of non-transactions. So what are the non-transaction data that is there? Like I said earlier, if I have to fly to a particular location, that location need not be a transaction related stuff. It can be a non-transaction. If I need a floor space or an office space in a particular building, if I need a cabin, a cubicle, I need to raise a request. So the drop down shows me the location and the free space that is available. I make a click and I say request for it. So that's a non-transaction master data. Similarly, in the infrastructure area, whether it's a data center, the desktop or the mobility applications or the communications. So against all these master architectural building blocks, we need to look on the right side and figure out and see what is it that we are looking at, what is it that we are delivering to the entire business, whether it's the level of automation, whether it's the use of the data in terms of a rear view mirror versus a navigational aid, or whether we are helping them to manage by facts, objectives, and exceptions. In terms of the business processes, are the processes automated? Are they integrated? Are they inherently having checks and balances? These are some of the things at a process level. Similarly, in terms of applications, do we have a plethora of applications and many of them doing similar jobs, or can we look at application consolidation? And what is the ratio of build versus buy? Do we really need to go and build something when we could go and buy? And even if you have to build, what kind of technology platforms are we supporting? Are there multiple technology platforms, or are we able to, go into a very few set of technology platforms? Now comes out in terms of the master, the data itself. Who creates a master? Are the masters governed correctly? What are the master metadata definitions? There are many such things related to master data itself. So these are some of the things that we need to look at from a master data perspective. Similarly, towards the end, we'll come to the infrastructure. So as companies need a very agile and a very proactive IT environment, is your IT environment elastic? So should you build that IT environment inside the organization, or should you go to a cloud mechanism where you can say, I need it on demand, I need an elastic infrastructure. So can I go there and just subscribe and grow, and it will be provisioned the way, when and where and how I want it. So rather than building everything myself, can I go and do that? So these are some of the things that you got to look at from an architectural perspective and change the way we look at how we deliver IT for the particular business that we are in. So this can be applied to all the businesses we talked about. Like I said, whether it's the airlines, whether it's the telecom, whether it's a banking, an insurance company, or a manufacturing company, or a services company, a hospital, hotel, any industry that where we are delivering IT into. You can apply this and figure out and say where are we in these building blocks and what do we need to attack first. Where are the gaps? Where are we performing much lower than where we should be performing? Where are the issues that are coming up? So all such things will start throwing up architectural issues and say that hopefully by the time we figure this out and put a 3 month, 6 month, 9 month, or maybe 12 month, or maybe 24 month roadmap and say that we got to fix all these things and we got to deliver a good stable architecture environment into the business. So that is something that we have to look at and say that maybe this is how we should look at it. So this is an approach that you could take and figure out what's the best way to look at it and deliver that. Another way of looking at it is saying that there are all the companies that we talked about will have right at the bottom on the right side, they will have their routine activities. It could be simple things like manufacturing, and they will have a lot of reports. They will have a lot of management teams, senior management, and eventually the board of the company will be looking at all these things and figuring out how the company is going, and they have to be reported to shareholders. Now, typically what happens is most of the data that is there in systems, reside in systems, and as they have to go up the chain, they start traveling in spreadsheets for various reasons. Like I said, maybe the data is there, but it's not the way I want it. Maybe the data is there, but the system is not supporting these additional transactions. I need to make a provision for these additional transactions. Maybe the data is there, but the branch office in that particular location is not closing its books, so the open inventories cannot be brought in and closed. Whatever be that constraint, it's always easy to fall back on spreadsheets and for companies to say that, listen, let's just pull the raw data, take it into spreadsheets, figure out what we need to do, and then report it upwards in spreadsheets. But that means that once it's in spreadsheets, obviously you lose the downward arrow on the extreme right, which says that if there is something that the management wants to see, if there's something the board wants to see, if there's something a senior manager wants to see, he stops at a spreadsheet, and again he has to go to the go-to guy and say, listen, this number doesn't look good from last month to this month. Can you find out why? Or he has to make 10 phone calls to figure out and see what needs to be done or why that particular number came up to where it is right now. So as against that, what we need to deliver is right from the lowest, if you look at the triangle now on the left side, right from the lowest level to the execution that's happening, whether it's you walk into a branch of a bank and you want to open an account, that's an execution. You log into a travel portal and you book an airline ticket, that's execution. You go to a car dealer and you book your car, that's execution. You go to a hotel and have lunch, that's execution. You walk into a hospital and say, I need a medical checkup, that's execution. Whatever be that thing that you are doing at an execution level, right? There are people to support that level of activities in the organization. So how are we, supporting them through the business processes and the systems? We saw that earlier in terms of automation and things like that. These are typically the individual users that are supporting them, and they are typically looking at the business processes that are there embedded into the systems and applications that as IT we are delivering to them. The way they interact is through reports and dashboards to find out, like a navigation in terms of saying, okay, what is the inventory that came in today? What are the orders we closed? What are the complaints that have been coming into our call center? How many tickets did we sell on this sector? What profit did we make? Right? So these are the individual users who just want that day's report, maybe a monthly report, and they're happy with that. You go slightly higher up, you go to management cockpits. We should deliver management cockpits to different parts of the management in saying that, okay, you are in charge of a particular, let's say, product line, you are in charge of a service line, you are in charge of a geography. Now, whatever you want to see about that geography, whatever you want to see about this list of clients, this list of verticals, or you're in a vertical, you're in a particular business segment, you should be able to have a cockpit and say that, I need this in my typical cockpit environment where I can see what's happening. So you are executing, let's say, for example, in the earlier case where we talked about the EPC company executing projects in a particular country. We want to see all the activities that are happening in that country. So similarly, as we go up the triangle, we also want to see what else is happening at a senior management level. So you are the head of the particular geography, you're a head of a business unit, you're a head of a vertical, you're a head of a product line. You need to know what's happening, and this need not be delivered to you through the wire. It can be wireless. So you are taking a flight from point A to point B, and you want to see what the performance has been for your business unit, and you can sit at the airport and pick up that and see what's happening. You get a complaint from a customer, or you get an alert from your system saying that number of complaints have crossed a particular threshold, and you want to know why, and who are the customers complaining, which are the product lines they're talking about, what are the types of issues they're facing. Pick that up and drill deep into it from your pad itself. So these are some things that you got to look at. Eventually, when these data all roll up to the board, what the board should be seeing is exactly what somebody at the execution layer carried out and has been rolled up. And if they want to go down to that level, they should be able to do it. That is the level to which we should be able to deliver. So if the extreme left of the triangle, we're talking about a few key indicators across each layer. We're talking about differentiating opinion from data. We're talking about using information as a basis for dialogue. So rather than saying that I need to go to a go-to guy, or rather than 10 people sitting in a meeting room and saying, no, my production data is this, no, but my production data is this, my cost is this, or my sales are these. Let's go to that board, let's go to that cockpit and figure out and see what it's saying. This is how we should be looking at that. And rather than just the raw data that's delivered, we should deliver innovation. So we should be transitioning from data to innovation, and we should be managing on the right side downwards. We should be managing by facts, we should be managing by objectives, and we should be managing by exceptions. The entire journey, you can sort of look at it and say that as IT people, we deliver data. Like I said earlier, we deliver volumes of data. And every time we keep saying that, oh, we need so many terabytes of disk storage, we need to have RAID, we need to mirror it, we need to have a backup, disaster recovery, all that stuff is great, but it's still data, right? The value of data to an organization is not as high. If I would put the next thing, maybe we deliver information. Somebody says, you have the data, now I need this report of all the collections that happened yesterday. I need the report of all the sales that happened 2 days back. I need the report of all the customer complaints that came in. I need a report of all the payments that we have done to suppliers. That's information. Right? You're still looking at converting the data through a report to information and saying, oh yeah, here's your report, and say thank you very much. Now let's go a little further and say, what do you do with that information, right? Now you are the head of sales and you are looking at that and saying, oops, my sales are going down, or oh good, this particular product is doing well, and this campaign that we started off is impacting our sales because we are getting good sales in this region, or this particular product line we had envisaged a particular growth rate, but it's much more than that, so that's good. So you have converted the data to information, to knowledge, and then said that, okay, this is what we are delivering. Now, we need not stop there. This is where we are going to look at and say, now can we look at delivering innovation to you? Because one of the things I mentioned earlier was that moving away from a rear view mirror to a crystal ball. You have so much of data in your systems, and what you're delivering up to, even up to knowledge maybe, is still a rear view mirror view of your data. What happened yesterday, what happened last quarter, what happened last week, what happened last month. Now, knowing that information is like looking at a rear view mirror and saying, oh, that's where I went, that's the milestone I crossed, oh, that's the bridge I crossed, and that's the highway I crossed, right? That's the petrol pump I passed by. That's fast information. That's looking at the rear view mirror and saying that's done. Now we have to look at something beyond that and saying, what are we delivering to the business? If all our architecture components are in place, if the volume of data that we have gathered is good, if the processes are automated, if there's enough of governance, and we are delivering all this, we should be delivering innovation to the clients, to our clients, which are nothing but the business users. And how do we do that? Again, are there external factors that we can do? There are definite solutions that we can enable to our business users, like maybe modeling systems, right? Are we allowing them to model the parameters and say that, okay, if you are able to model the monsoon, if you are able to model, the fuel prices, if you're able to model the currency, which typically are not transaction-oriented systems, can you look at a predictive model based on the historical data and these parameters and a bunch of equations? Can you predict to me that if I go in this linear direction, where will I reach? What will be my profitability? If there is a change, if the exchange rate, if the fuel prices, if the interest rates move up or down, what happens to my business? And that is what businesses are looking for. Like I said, rather than delivering the rear view mirror of your organization, can you help your companies, can you help your business users to get to a situation where they start looking forward into a crystal ball and saying, oops, I think, with this kind of thing, the stock exchange is going up, or the interest rates are possibly coming down. Do we shift the product lines? Do we make this product? Do we give better discounts? Do we import versus export? Do we shut down these product lines and start doing outsourced manufacturing? Whatever be that strategy, as we spoke right at the beginning, what is that strategy going to be? And that is what we have to enable to all our business users. And not necessarily that has to be done from day one. It's just a journey that needs to be we have to go through in terms of figuring out how we deliver this kind of a journey to our businesses. And architecture plays a very, very critical role, because unless your house foundation is good, unless your walls are good, going to the third floor and building a jacuzzi and expecting it to stay for the length of your house or the lifespan of your house is going to be a little difficult, because you never possibly considered the volume of water and the weight that is going to put and stress on your floor, and then you have a difficult situation there. So effectively, similar way, unless your entire infrastructure is good, your data is good, your applications are good, your processes are good, and your intelligence is good, you will not be able to deliver what the user wants the way they want it, whether it's wired to his desktop or whether it's delivered wireless to his smartphone. This is what you should be looking at in terms of delivery. And finally, obviously, we got to look at and see how all these things are delivered from an ISA perspective, 5 pillars of ISA. And while I'm not going to go into too much of detail of the ISA principles and the things, but everything that I spoke of has got the connotations, and the impact of that has to be looked at in terms of how we deliver from an ISA model. Whether we talk about the IT strategy, whether we talk about the human dynamics, the IT environment, the design principles itself, and the quality attributes. So all these things are interlinked, and all these things deliver to what we have to deliver to the business in terms of the innovation, the entire journey towards from data to information to knowledge to innovation. Every aspect of this has a direct impact and a direct role to play in delivering that entire, the entire journey and the entire roadmap towards how we move our businesses from reactive to a very proactive way, and effectively taking benefits of whatever data that we throw at them, the volumes of data that we have. How are we able to get to that and deliver that to them? So that is the thing that we wanted to share today in terms of how the entire architecture principles that we're talking about has relevance to business and what businesses are looking for from an architecture perspective. Like I said earlier, not just jargons, not just a bunch of code, not just integrated systems or best of breed, but help me to analyze the data, help me to figure out and see what patterns are emerging, help me to figure out and see, can I do a proactive analysis, can I do a crystal ball kind of a thing, rather than saying I do a rear view mirror. So with that, I want to end the session and now open it up for any Q&As that might be there. Thank you.
Thanks, Madhukar, for the wonderful briefing of the values towards business in terms of how architecting will help. Unfortunately, we have certain hangout problem as usual. So the question and answer, you can shoot email to our ID, or you can actually blog at our chapter. But you can definitely use our email ID isahome.org, and you will be able to get corresponding answers from us. Thank you very much for your sharing your time and effort. Kindly note down our email ID. It is VJADE. I repeat, VJADE at isahome.org. So kindly send out your questions and your communications to this particular ID, and we'll be very eager to answer yours, you clarify if there's anything, and we get a knowledge share benefit from you as well. There'll be a second level of similar webinar in about a month's time, and you will be seeing that as a webinar event in the ISA India chapter event page. Thank you very much, and have a very nice day. Thank you.